Hello and welcome to the May 11th, 2025 episode of Nick's News. I am your host, Nick, brought to you by Some Budget Studios. That's right, there is a budget for this project of ours. We're live usually every Sunday, and I thank you all so much for tuning in or catching the replay on the Nick's News YouTube page. Links available on the Nick's News Facebook page. This is a program dedicated to bringing good news to counter all of the bad news that we are bombarded with on a daily basis with the hope of bringing a little bit of joy back to the world. Several of our articles are pulled from sites like goodnewsnetwork.org and goodgoodgood.co, but we appreciate everything sent in by you, the viewers. Hello Joe, hello Nico, hello Christian. My voice is trash. I was running around in the woods all weekend, experiencing dust, pollen, and talking a lot. And so, my voice, hi Becky, my voice is absolutely destroyed. So if I sound a little weird, it's because I am just a mess upstairs. But the show must go on. So, we're going to get into our broadcast. Our news brew this week is a nice surprise and a change of pace from the high ABV stouts and Belgians that we had over the last 4 or 5 episodes. This week, we are going to have... Let's see if it'll... There we go. Guilty Remnant from... this brew is from Blood Brothers Brewing. So, producer Donna was very kind, and when she visited, she brought me a care package of beer. This is the first of those. Guilty Remnant is a white stout. So not the usual dark stouts that we're used to. This is a white stout. It's 6% ABV. It's brewed with coffee, vanilla, and lactose, or milk sugar. And I'm looking forward to it because white stouts are like an odd bunch. They're strange. Their appearance doesn't match their tastes and their body. So they're really cool. I'm excited to give this one a try. Becky says, you did good this weekend. Thank you very much. So because it's a white stout, we don't need a snifter or a teku glass or a goblet. We just need a pint glass. So I'm going to use the share a pint glass that I was given. We don't need the Balisong bottle opener because it's a can, so I'll just crack this open and blow the gain on the audio. I was worried with white stouts when I started trying them because they are very reminiscent of coffee blondes, which is a beer style I am not a fan of. So, luckily for me at least, they are different enough. So let's get into the theatrics of a many-minute pour. They also have a lot of gas in them. So the head on this is going to be crazy. But the color is bizarre. That's going to take a bit of time to settle out. That's a ton of gas that I just don't want in me. But the color, as you can see, is a beautiful golden white color. Just a really strange brew overall. I don't know who got an idea to do it first, but definitely different and new. Hello, Dirty Rogue. Hello, Julie. Again, I apologize. I sound like trash. It's because I was running around in the woods all weekend at Waypoint LARP. So my voice is destroyed. Okay, shout-outs. First shout-out we're going to do. Do you want some fine wine or cider? Fox and Hen Winery is located between Grand Haven and Allendale in Michigan. And they specialize in small batch wines and ciders that reflect the Michigan climate, the Lake Michigan climate, that is. You can check them out Fridays and Saturdays from 1 p.m. to 8 p.m. Links for them are in the description. And I believe I might be trying to hit them up this Friday. I will post later on in the week whether or not I'm going to make it over there. So keep an eye on our Instagram and our Facebook page for posts regarding Fox and Hen and whether or not you might want to swing out and have a wine or a cider with me. So to Fox and Hen, cheers. Oh, how was the event, sire? Asks Dirty Rogue. The event was amazing. Absolutely fantastic. A beautiful opener to the season. It was the first Waypoint event of this season. 4 events a year. and it was a really good opener. It got everybody back into it. It's kind of a little bit of a late start, it feels like, for this year. But it went off really well. I talked to a lot of our players. It sounded like everyone was having a lot of fun, which is always, the name of the game. So if anybody didn't, by all means, you can reach out to staff. You can reach out to me. I'm the ombudsman for Waypoint LARP. But yeah, great event overall. Great LARP, great event. That beer is actually really solid. Nico in the chat saying it was amazing. Julie saying, LOL, Becky trying to get recruits. Becky is actively trying to get producer Donna to go to Waypoint. Julie says, I heard you were busy. Joseph says, it really bugged me. There was a lot of bug-related plots going on. So that's a good joke, Joe. Oh. The beer is going to help me get through this tonight, for sure, because we've got 7 amazing articles. All right, next shout-out. This shout-out's going to go to Steve and the crew at Tesla Tree Service. If you kept an eye on our Instagram or our Facebook, I was sharing a bunch of posts from Steve because Tesla Tree Service went crazy with stuff last week. It was so busy. They rescued 4 cats. They rescued a squirrel, and Steve ran a marathon. Links are in the description for Tesla Tree Service. Check them out. Steve is just an amazing guy, running around, doing rescues, doing personal fitness. It's really awesome. So to Steve and Tesla Tree Service, cheers. Hey, Steve. And speaking of Steve, he's here. Hey, Steve. Oh, gosh. I hate the fact that I sound like I can hear myself, and it's not good. So speaking of marathons, because of Steve running a marathon, my cousin, Christina Arvanitis, recently ran 26.2 miles through the streets of London. She participated in the London Marathon, did the London Marathon, and she was representing the Multiple Sclerosis Society, raising money for them and to find a cure for multiple sclerosis. So, Christina, congratulations on completing the London Marathon for a great cause. Cheers. Last shout out, a very special Happy Mother's Day from everybody here at Nick's News. This is, every day out of the year, you should treat your mom right. But today especially, it is Mother's Day. Hope you went to breakfast, brunch, or at least gave your mother a call, said you love her, or did something to remember them in certain situations. But very special Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. Cheers. Becky says, wow, that is awesome, and raising money. Cheers. Yep, it was amazing. Her goal in 2026, I can't remember what it's called, but there's a series of marathons that are all part of like a big marathon conglomerate, and her plan in 2026 is to do all of them. So that's going to be crazy. I will probably share those posts to Nick's News, either the Facebook or the Instagram. And Steve, if you're ever doing any marathons, running for causes, things like that, by all means, let us know, and we will share them on Nick's News. We'd be happy to share them because, you can't get enough of that stuff. When you're running for a cause, when you're doing things for a cause, the Ice Bucket Challenge, all the other little challenges that popped up in a quick string that people donated to, things like that. They're incredible, and they have the ability to generate a lot of information. The good spread of information has its own cost, but also to raise money for things that need funding. Solutions to diseases, things like that. So to everybody doing marathons out there, raising money for good causes, cheers. Yep, this is indeed a white stout. Heavier body. Coffee blondes have like a really light body to them. This has the body of a stout, but it drinks like a light ale, which is dangerous. All right, news quote. In honor of Mother's Day, Mama was my greatest teacher, a teacher of compassion, love, and fearlessness. If love is sweet as a flower, then my mother is that sweet flower of love. And that quote comes from Steveland Hardaway Morris, who's known professionally as Stevie Wonder. American Ghanaian singer, songwriter, musician, and record producer. And that really is, I'm kind of in the same boat as that quote there. My mother, who is a retired teacher, was also one of the greatest teachers I ever had in my life. I'm gifted to have my mother, who she is, and the values that she has instilled in me my entire life. Never stop, keep moving forward, and know that even when you don't know it, or even when you don't want to think it, things will get better. Things will happen. I kind of fight her on that last one, but deep down, I know she's right. My mother is right. So, Mama was my greatest teacher, a teacher of compassion, love, and fearlessness. If love is as sweet as a flower, then my mother is that sweet flower of love. Thank you, Stevie Wonder. Becky says, your mom is super nice. Julie says, your mom is super cool, is really cool. Thank you both very much. Bug update. Elmira continues to make us wait. She has not made her grand re-entrance into the world, but I'm keeping an eye out for it. Sue is quieted down, probably because before I headed out, I gave him some crickets to play with. And I just saw... speak of the evil himself. I just saw some motion in that tank. Just before the broadcast, I checked in on him, and sure enough, he was out moving about, as we can see now. And though the camera isn't going to catch it, he is very plump, which means he has successfully played with all three of those crickets. And there it is in the chat. Sue firing off. Ripley is looking very plump as well. I gave Ripley a couple of crickets, and they have tackled most of them, so that's very good. She's nabbed a few on her own. Mantis McLeod's legacy continues. He's doing very well. When I came in, sure enough, he was at the front of the tank looking at me when I got back. He seemed genuinely surprised that I survived. And so all is well with the bugs. They're all doing great. Oh gosh, there's Sue. Sue is doing his push-ups. Hi, Charlie. We could take a shot every time Sue is spotted, says Becky. Becky, you mad woman. That is terrifying. I mean, we could. Oh my, look at him. Oh, he's terrifying. He is a beast. And he's still small. He still hasn't molted, so he's got a lot of growing to do. All right. While he waddles around back there trying to escape. Oh my gosh. Oh no, Charlie says, I bet I'm down for the Sue shots. Oh, that's terrible. We'd have to decide on what the shots are and, what the rules. Is there a Nick's News drinking game that I'm not aware of? I'd love to be aware of a Nick's News drinking game. Speaking of the news, it sounds like a bad idea. You have my attention, says Dirty Rogue. Speaking of the news, let's get into our good news. Our broadcast is broken up into 4 major categories, and those categories are science and technology, health and medicine, flora and fauna, aka plants and animals, and wholesome notes, the really nice articles we like to end on. Charlie says, we don't talk about Nick's News Fight Club. All right. We're going to start off in Category 1, Science and Technology, and I called this article Mushroom, 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 Concrete, Concrete. And I will copy and paste this into the chat if y'all want to read along. Scientists build self-repairing bricks out of fungus as a sustainable alternative to concrete. This article was posted to goodgoodgood.co on May 5th of 2025 by Megan Cook. According to Scientific American, cement is the most energy-intensive product on the planet. We've gone over this before. It kind of is. Global cement and concrete production accounts for 9% of all man-made carbon dioxide emissions annually. But it's hard to imagine a world without concrete when it's the building block of nearly everything. Homes, buildings, bridges, roads, and more. That's why scientists at Montana State University Bozeman decided to think outside of the box when it came to creating a concrete alternative. Julie says, magic mushrooms. Becky says, double shot when he snaps his fingers and says engineer. Oh, God. Oh, boy. Sorry, I got an itch on my back. All right, there we go. We asked, what if we could do it a different way using biology? That's the vision. Chelsea Heverin, an assistant professor of mechanical industrial engineering, told CNN. Heverin is the senior author of a study published on April 16th in Cell Reports Physical Science, which explores the viability of using dense fungi and bacteria to create recyclable building materials. That's right, let's turn to nature to build something better. We're not the first ones to biomineralize something and call it a building material, Heverin pointed out. That is a fantastic word, biomineralization. Charlie says, I hope they build a mushroom house out of the mushroom concrete. Make it come full circle. Oh, that's great. All right. Where their research team differs, Heverin explained, is the introduction of calcium carbonate, a chemical compound, to mycelium, the vegetative part of the fungus. Through a process called biomineralization, the calcium carbonate causes the mycelium to harden into bone-like structures called scaffolds. If you want to keep the bacteria alive for longer so that you can do more with them, there's been some challenges involved to extend that viability, Heverin said. So that's why we gave them fungal mycelium scaffolds, because the mycelium is really robust, and in nature, sometimes it biomineralizes. Heverin said that biomineralized building materials are technically only living for a few days. But through their lab trials, Heverin and her team have been able to keep the microbes alive for at least 4 weeks. In the future, they hope to extend that time to months, or even years. That's right, keeping these microbial bricks alive for potentially years at a time. We're really excited in our next work to ask the questions, could we seal a crack in the material? Or could we sense something using these bacteria? Heverin posed. Becky says, didn't we have a plot about a mushroom becoming a house? Yes, Becky, that's funny. There was a LARP plot about exactly the same thing. If someone wants to tag or contact Ed, who is an Ix-Newsy, Ed would probably love hearing about this. Or maybe Ed is lurking right now. Like, imagine you had poor air quality in your building, and these bricks were your walls. Could they light up to indicate that? Heverin added. Before, we couldn't do any of that because the microbes weren't alive enough, but they're very alive now. Avinash Manjula Basavana, a senior research scientist at Northeastern University, weighed in on the Montana State University Bozeman experiments, adding that living building materials are still years away from replacement cement. Nico says it was a very sweet plot, the mushroom folks. These kinds of experiments are done on a small scale, Manjula Basavana said. They are not necessarily a reflection of the bulk material properties. It's not stiffness that people are interested in when it comes to construction materials. It is the strength, the load-bearing ability. I think in the future they could be useful for single-story buildings, these smaller structures. It's very much feasible, Manjula Basavana said. It might be 5 to 10 years down the line, but still in our lifetime. Even though she and her team are years away from using their fungi bricks in the real world, Heverin is willing to play the long game. The team has been working hard in the lab since 2020 when they first received a $50,000 grant from the National Science Foundation to kick off their research. Overall, Heverin is optimistic about the potential benefits of using living building materials. There's a lot of ifs that would have to come into play for the average household to have a cost benefit from this, Heverin said. But for society, it might be a lot cheaper when you're trying to build infrastructure for a community that really needs it. Or if you're trying to build infrastructure in space, this might be a lot easier than carting cement and concrete up there, she explained. The possibilities are really exciting to me. There are other links in the article as well if you want to look into this even more, but to everybody involved at Montana State University Bozeman building fungi bricks. Cheers. We call this next one Sticky Solution to a Microplastic Problem. And I will copy and paste this into the chat if y'all want to read along. He's just tapping along. Okra and fenugreek extracts safely remove microplastics from water in new Texas research. The substance behind the slimy strings from okra and the gel from fenugreek seeds could trap microplastics better than a commonly used synthetic polymer. Texas researchers proposed back in this article came from goodnewsnetwork.org and it was posted on... What date was it posted? Why isn't it showing me when... Oh, there it is. May 10th of 2025. There it was. I apologize for that, folks. Texas researchers proposed back in 2022 that using these sticky natural polymers could clean up water. Now they found that okra and or fenugreek extracts attracted and removed up to 90% of microplastics from ocean water, fresh water, and groundwater. Hey, Ed. Yeah, Ed. So, the first article we had was a mushroom story. It was an article about using fungi, biomineralizing fungi, to create scaffolds for microbial bricks to be made out of. And the scaffolding would keep the microbes alive longer so they could actually, fix the bricks. It was crazy, and it was pretty much exactly the plot you ran at the event this weekend. And now we're talking about okra cleaning up microplastics. Ed says Meppy, who was one of the characters in that plot, just wants to help. That's adorable. All right. With funding from the U.S. Department of Energy, Rajani Srinivasan and colleagues at Tarleton State University found that the plant-based polymers from okra, fenugreek, and tamarind stick to microplastics, clumping together and sinking for easy separation from water. In the next stage of the research, they have optimized the process for okra and fenugreek extracts and tested results in a variety of types of water. To extract the sticky plant polymers, the team soaked sliced okra pods and blended fenugreek seeds in separate containers of water overnight. Then, researchers removed the dissolved extracts from each solution and dried them into powders. Analyses published in the American Chemical Society journal showed that the powdered extracts contained polysaccharides, which are natural polymers. Initial tests in pure water spiked with microplastics showed that 1 gram of either powder in a quart or 1 liter of water trapped microplastics the most effectively. The dried okra and fenugreek extracts removed 67 and 93% of the microplastics, respectively, in an hour. A mixture of equal parts okra and fenugreek powder reached maximum removal efficiency of 70% in just 30 minutes. The natural polymers perform significantly better than the synthetic commercially available polyacrylamide polyacrylamide polymer used in wastewater treatment to catch microplastics. That is awesome. Then the researchers tested the plant extracts on real microplastic polluted water. They collected samples from water bodies around Texas and brought them to the lab. The plant extract removal efficiency changed depending on the original water source. Okra worked best in ocean water, 80% efficiency. Fenugreek in groundwater, 80 to 90% efficiency. And the 1-1 combination of okra and fenugreek worked in fresh water to 77% efficiency. The researchers hypothesized that the natural polymers had different efficiencies because each water sample had different types, sizes, and shapes of microplastics. Polyacrylamide, which is currently used to remove contaminants during wastewater treatment, has low toxicity, but its precursor, acrylamide, is considered toxic. Okra and fenugreek extracts could serve as biodegradable and non-toxic alternatives. I don't know where he crawled off to. Utilizing these plant-based extracts in water treatment will remove microplastics and other pollutants without introducing additional toxic substances to the treated water, said Srinivasan in a media release, thus reducing long-term health risks to the population. She had previously studied the use of food-grade plant extracts as non-toxic flocculants to remove textile-based pollutants from wastewater and thought, why not try microplastics? So, utilizing okra and fenugreek to remove microplastics from water to everybody at the to everybody at the Tarleton State University for cooking up this project and seeing results. Cheers. All right, that's going to get us out of science and technology. We're going to move on to category 2, health and medicine. We've got one article in health and medicine. We called it Unexpected Benefits. And I'm going to copy and paste this into the chat if y'all want to read along. Shingles vaccine may directly guard against dementia, study hints. This came from Live Science. It was published on May 5th of 2025 by Clarissa Brincat. The shingles vaccine may prevent or delay dementia, compelling new data suggests. Becky says, not to be confused with friends with benefits. No, Becky, this is not friends with benefits related. Jeez. Take a shot. The shingles vaccine may prevent or delay dementia, compelling new data suggests. In a study published on April 23rd in the journal JAMA, researchers analyzed electronic health records from across Australia. They found that older adults who were eligible for a free shingles vaccine were significantly less likely to be diagnosed with dementia over the following 7.4 years than those who were slightly too old to qualify for the vaccination program. These findings support the viral hypothesis of Alzheimer's disease, which posits that viral infections contribute to the development of the condition, which is the most common form of dementia. Specifically, the hypothesis points to herpes viruses, a family of viruses that includes varicella zoster virus, the germ behind chickenpox and shingles. If confirmed by additional research, the results of the new study suggest that an effective and low-cost tool for reducing dementia risk may already exist. It is very hard to see how anything other than the vaccine could explain the strong protective effect observed in the study, Dr. Sten Vermund, Dean of the University of South Florida College of Public Health, who is not involved in the work, told Live Science in an email. If a person contracts chickenpox, the varicella zoster virus can remain dormant in the nervous system for decades before reactivating later to cause shingles, a condition marked by a painful rash. The ability to fall latent and then reawaken in the body is a core characteristic of herpes viruses. Charlie says for the drinking game, anytime Nick calls out the cheekiness, take a shot. Or instead of a drinking game, we could play Nick's News Bingo, says Becky. Oh gosh, that would be funny too. The shingles vaccine helps to build immunity and prevent reactivation of the virus, and it's thus highly effective at preventing shingles and its complications, such as long-term nerve pain, vision loss, and a higher risk of bacterial skin infections. Previous studies found that older people who have been vaccinated against shingles tend to have lower rates of dementia than those who have not received the shingles vaccine. But these studies had a major caveat. People who choose to get vaccinated also tend to be more health conscious and more likely to eat well and exercise regularly, habits that also protect against dementia. So, while past research showed a correlation between shingles vaccination and reduced dementia risk, it couldn't prove that one caused the other. The gold standard test to see whether the vaccine actually protects against dementia would be to conduct a large clinical trial in which participants would be randomly assigned to receive the vaccine or a placebo. But such trials are costly, and in this case could potentially pose some ethical issues. It would be nice to see a randomized and controlled study showing placebo versus herpes vaccine, rather than a retrospective observational, as this study was, said Dr. Logan Dubose, co-founder of Olera Care, a caregiver support platform for senior care needs. However, there might be some ethical issues with giving some people the vaccine and others not, given it's known to be effective against shingles. Making that a hard study to conduct, Dubose, who was not involved in the work, told Live Science in an email. The new study took a different approach. What's so special about our study is that we take advantage of a very similar scenario to a randomized trial. Senior author Dr. Pascal Geldsetzer, an assistant professor of medicine at Stanford University, told Live Science in an email. Everybody's just sending this in by email. Australia launched a shingles vaccination program on November 1st of 2016, providing a unique opportunity for a quasi-experimental study. The program offered a free shingles vaccine to adults ages 70 to 79. Those who turned 80 just before the program began were ineligible, while those who turned 80 just afterwards were still eligible. As in a clinical trial, we have a vaccine-eligible and a vaccine-ineligible group for which we know that we should be on average similar to each other, and therefore good comparison groups. Geldsetzer said, "All that's different about these two groups is if they were born a few days earlier or a few days later." The researchers analyzed data from over 101,200 individuals across 65 general medical practices in Australia, focusing on those born just before and after November 2nd, 1936, the cutoff birthday for vaccine program eligibility. Where is it? The difference in vaccination rates between these two cohorts was substantial, with eligibility boosting the likelihood of receiving the vaccine. Over a 7.4-year follow-up period, the rate of dementia among eligible individuals was 1.8 percentage points lower than that of the ineligible people. Overall, 3.7% of the eligible individuals were diagnosed with dementia, compared to 5.5% of the ineligible individuals. This effect was not observed for other chronic conditions such as high blood pressure, heart disease, or diabetes, suggesting that the shingles vaccine had a specific protective effect against dementia. The analysis also showed no increase in diagnoses of other common chronic conditions or use of other preventative services like cancer screening or annual flu vaccination among those who were vaccine eligible. This reinforced the idea that the difference in dementia was driven by the vaccine itself. Previously, Geldsetzer and his team conducted a similar analysis of health records in Wales and found that the shingles vaccine was linked to a 20% lower rate of new dementia diagnoses among vaccinated individuals. So this is not the first time that this data has been analyzed, the style of data has been analyzed, and these results have been able to be inferred. Correlation is not causation, but when you've got data backing it up, you start to look a different way at this sort of stuff. My first thought about the Australian study was that there is a modest difference, being 1.8% less likely to get a diagnosis, Dubose said. However, having two well-designed studies that show the risk of dementia diagnosis is lower if you've had the vaccination is compelling, he said. DuBose noted that the study could have gone a step further by examining whether the vaccine's effect differed in people with different genetic backgrounds. For instance, a specific gene variant called APOE4 is linked to dementia. It could be that the vaccine's effects vary depending on a person's genetic background, he suggested. More studies are needed to understand the mechanism behind the vaccine's protective effects against dementia, as that's currently unclear. One theory does suggest that reactivation of the varicella-zoster virus may trigger brain damage through a range of mechanisms, including the buildup of abnormal proteins and chronic inflammation. By preventing reactivation, the shingles vaccine may theoretically prevent this brain damage. Another hypothesis is that the vaccine provides protection not by targeting viruses directly, but by tuning the immune system in a way that slows or alters the course of dementia. Now, Geldsetzer and his team are seeking private and philanthropic funding to launch a formal clinical trial testing the shingles vaccine's ability to protect against dementia. That is awesome. To everybody involved in this study in Australia, possibly finding that the shingles vaccine has an effect on reducing the increase or rate of dementia in patients. Cheers. All right, that's going to... Cheers. That's going to get us out of health and medicine. We're going to move on to category 3, flora and fauna, aka plants and animals. This first article was sent in by Eliza. So Eliza, thank you very much. We called it Squawk! Hop on the Discord! Squawk! I will copy and paste this into the chat if y'all want to read along. I can hear him tapping around in there. Oop, the camera had to find me again. There we go. Scientists taught pet parrots to video call each other, and the birds loved it. This was posted to Smithsonian Magazine on April 24th of 2023 by Sarah Kuda. When humans are feeling lonely, we can call or video chat with friends and family who live far away. But, scientists asked, what about pet parrots? New research suggests that these chatty creatures may also benefit from virtually connecting with their peers. Becky in the chat asked, Mantis McLeod doing okay? He is. I don't think the camera's picking him up. I can see him from where I'm sitting. He's doing great. He was very attentive. He looked right at me when I came in earlier, so he's doing really well. And there's Sue again. Look at that little monster. Oh, he's doing tail ups. Oh, Sue, stop it. Oh, that's terrifying. Oh, that... What the... Excuse you. Excuse you, sir. Y'all seeing this? Hey. Yeah, that's right. You slide back down. No, no, no. Oh, that's terrifying. What are you hooked into? How are you doing that? I'm going to have to come up with a solution to that. He was pulling himself up to the door, to the lid. I'm going to have to figure out how he's doing that, because I've never seen him do that before. That was moderately terrifying. And then he fell back down. So you have to finish your drink when the show gets derailed by the bugs, says Julie. Charlie says pure spite and rage. Becky, yes, he was trying to escape. He actually was all the way up, grabbing at the top of the tank, and he'd climbed the wall. That's terrifying. I've never seen him do that before. That's going to look amazing when I rewatch this video later. Wow. All right. Dirty Rogue says the bug uprising on camera. Yeah, we caught it here, folks. Charlie said, you can do it, Sue. I believe in you. Do not encourage him. No, do not encourage him. Maybe he wanted to host, says Becky. All right, let's get back to this article about parrots. Oh, man, that was nuts. All right. I'm going to start over. Told you he needs a screen. Yep. When humans are feeling lonely, we can call or video chat with friends and family who live far away. But scientists asked, what about pet parrots? New research suggests that these chatty creatures may also benefit from virtually connecting with their peers. Domesticated parrots that learned to initiate video chats with other pet parrots had a variety of positive experiences, such as learning new skills. Researchers from Northeastern University, the University of Glasgow, and MIT reported this in the month of April in Proceedings of the 2023 CHI Conference on Human Factors in Computing Systems. She came alive during the calls, one pet parrot said about their bird, according to a Northeastern University statement. The idea for this study was not random. In the wild, parrots tend to live in large flocks. But when kept in captivity, such as in people's homes as pets, these social birds are often on their own. Feeling bored and isolated, they may develop psychological issues and can even resort to self-harming tendencies, like plucking out their feathers. Lonely parrots are unhappy parrots, so researchers set out to find a way for some of the estimated 20 million pet birds living in the United States to connect with each other. They recruited volunteers from Parrot Kindergarten, an online training program for parrot owners and their beloved pets. During the first 2 weeks of the study, owners taught their birds to ring a bell, then touch an image of another pet parrot on a tablet screen to initiate a video call. In this initial phase, the participating birds made 212 video calls while their owners carefully monitored their behavior. Owners terminated calls as soon as the birds stopped paying attention to the screen and capped their duration at 5 minutes. Though 18 parrots began the experiment, 3 dropped out. Once the birds had learned how to initiate video interactions, the second phase of the experiment could begin. In this open call period, the 15 participating birds could make calls freely. They also got to choose which bird to dial up. Over the next 2 months, pet parrots made 147 deliberate video calls to other birds. Their owners took detailed notes and the calls took detailed notes about the calls and recorded more than 1,000 hours of video footage that the researchers then analyzed. Julie says video chirp. Becky says poor birdies. Julie says it gives a new meaning to Twitter or bird calling. Those are good. For starters, they found that the parrots took advantage of the opportunity to call one another, and they typically stayed on the call for the maximum time allowed during the experiment. They also seemed to understand that another live bird was on the other side of the screen, not a recorded bird, researchers say. Some of the parrots learned new skills from their virtual companions, including flying, foraging, and how to make new sounds. I was quite surprised at the range of different behaviors. Co-author Ilyana Hershke-Douglas, an animal-computer interaction researcher at the University of Glasgow, told The Guardian's Hannah Devlin. Some would sing, some would play around and go upside down, others would want to show another bird their toys. 2 weak, older macaws, for example, became very close and even called out to one another, "Hi, come here, hello," from their respective screens. The birds forged strong friendships with which researchers measured by how frequently they chose to call the same individual. Parrots who initiated the highest number of video calls also received the most calls, which suggests a reciprocal dynamic similar to human socialization, per the statement. The experiment also brought parrots and humans closer, on both sides of the screen. Some birds were even reported to have developed attachments to the human caretakers of their virtual friends. Video chatting can't replace the social interactions that would occur in the wild, but it may be a viable option for improving the lives of parrots that are already in captivity, the researchers note. In addition, it may be beneficial for birds that cannot interact in person. Pet parrots are highly susceptible to a deadly disease called avian ganglioneuritis, which can make it dangerous for human owners to plan in-person parrot playdates. As for other parrot owners, the researchers caution it might not be wise to suddenly begin launching FaceTime or Zoom chats on behalf of their pets. The study involved experienced parrot handlers who had the time and energy to keep tabs on the bird's behavior. At the first sign of fear, aggression, disinterest, or discomfort, they ended the calls. As the study's authors note in the statement, unmediated interactions could lead to fear or even violence and property damage. We were really careful about training the birds' caregivers thoroughly to ensure that they could offer an appropriate level of support to empower their parrots, but also help them avoid any negative experiences, says study co-author Rebecca Kleinberger, a humanics and voice technology researcher at Northeastern University, in a University of Glasgow statement. Still, the researchers learned an important lesson from the study. If taught how to use video chat technologies to communicate with fellow birds, pet parrots will do so in very individual and very beautiful ways. Hershey Douglas tells the New York Times' Emily Anthes. That is awesome. To everybody from Northern University and University of Glasgow for doing this test and finding that parrots can perform Skype calls and video calls with other birds, and that it can be very positive reinforcement and behavior for them. Cheers. Precious babies indeed, Charlie. Okay. We call this next one Knitting Nanas. And I will copy and paste this into the chat if y'all want to read along. Sorry. There we go. Nanas knit jumpers for oil spill penguins. This was posted to the BBC on, when was this posted? On the 7th of May, 2025, by Tom Burgess. Little jumpers knitted by grandmothers are being used to prevent penguins caught in oil spills from getting ill while trying to clean their feathers. Dubbing themselves the Knitting Nanas, the group based at Hazel Grove Court Care Home in Saltburn, Teesside, have been sending their mini creations to a charity in Australia. The woolly tops are used as a barrier to stop the birds from ingesting toxic chemicals when they try to preen themselves after they've been swimming through oil. Joyce Backstrom, 94, explained that she has knitted jumpers for both her children, but she had never knit for a penguin before. Phillip Island, south of Melbourne, is home to 40,000 penguins, and preparation is ongoing to help look after them in the event of an oil spill. Rehabilitation jumpers can be temporarily placed on an affected penguin until its feathers can be cleaned by rescue workers. Hazel Grove Activities Coordinator Sharon Lewis said she loves finding worthwhile projects for the knitting group. We have now posted them to Australia, and we've been in touch with the charity to make sure they arrived safely. The residents love getting involved and using their lifelong skills to support others. It gives them a sense of purpose and pride, and it's always incredible to receive pictures of cute animals wearing their knitted items. Joyce Woofinden, 83, could not believe she was creating clothes for penguins, but said, "This is the sort of thing we do at Hazel Grove." Thanking the Knitting Nanas, Rebecca Paslaw from the Penguin Foundation said generous knitters and groups from all around the world have been making jumpers to help. In the past, the Nanas have also knitted blankets for baby rhinos, which were sent to a wild rhino sanctuary in South Africa. And there is a link in that article to that article about the Knitting Nanas making knitted blankets for baby rhinos. To the Knitting Nanas making little sweaters for penguins to keep them safe after they perhaps have been affected by an oil spill. Cheers. Julie says, Phil the Penguin from John Ball Zoo needs a jumper. I agree. Alright, so that's going to get us out of Flora and Fauna. We are going to move on to Category 4, the Wholesome Notes. We call this first one Printed for People, Not Profit. And I will copy and paste this into the chat if y'all want to read along. Charlie says, need to make them like little ugly Christmas sweaters. Design Lab invents first of its kind 3D printed wheelchair for kids and will give them away for free. This was posted to goodgood.co on May 8th of 2025 by Cameron Baker. The average pediatric wheelchair can cost thousands of dollars, and when children grow and their needs evolve, or a wheelchair gets damaged, those costs multiply. So the team at Make Good NOLA, a New Orleans-based adaptive design lab, has made something that can transform the world for disabled children. Introducing the world's first fully 3D printed wheelchair, Make Good founder and president Noam Platt stated in a recent social media video. He wheels a small, almost toy-like lime green wheelchair into the frame, complete with a matching harness suitable for children's ages 2 to 8. Everything from the body to the wheels to the tires, the seat, and even the straps were all 3D printed on a regular Bamboo Labs A1 machine, Platt continued. This means the design is fully compatible with a regular 3D printer anyone can have in their home. We designed this to be modular and easy to make, Platt continued. Really, anyone with a 3D printer and some filament can download the files and print it. Once the prototype is completely finished, it will be available as a fair use download that anyone can use for free. Platt said that because it has a modular design, the wheelchair can be put together without any tools or glue, and if any part of it breaks or is damaged, users can simply reprint the single piece they need. As a wheelchair user, I love everything about this. TikTok user This is Harley commented on Platt's video debuting the wheelchair. Mine costs more than my car. I can't imagine having to buy a new one every year or two as they outgrow it. At This is Harley continued, you're going to change the world. For Platt, that's always been the plan. When he created Make Good in 2021, the nonprofit design lab was thinking of the more than 1 billion people around the globe who live with disabilities. Since traditional design often overlooks diverse bodies and minds, it is crucial to reshape the built environment. Make Good shares on its website. The challenges our communities face, both physical and social, are solvable. Make Good works with individuals to co-create their adaptive design solutions, centering the need knower, the disabled person or their primary caregivers throughout the entire process. Since the founding of Make Good, 1,600 individualized adaptive devices have been delivered to families for free. Platt's team found a niche with this wheelchair, which they call the Toddler Mobility Trainer, or the TMT. On its website, the organization says the wheelchairs were designed with therapists from all over the world and offer unmatched mobility and independence to young kids. Children and parents agree. It's an A+, one parent said of an earlier prototype of the TMT in a report by CBS News. It's helped my son become more mobile and be able to adapt into the other things that he's going to be offered. It's helped his development. At the start of the design process, Platt reached out to area hospitals to see if he could fill a need. Part of it is empowering clinicians that we go beyond what is commercially available, Platt told CBS News. We can really create almost anything. Now in the final stages of tweaking the TMT design to be ready for release, Platt is eager to get the wheelchair rolled out and into the homes of the children who need them most. We think this sort of 3D printing and design is going to be huge for accessibility, and for wheelchairs specifically, Platt said in his social media video. In the meantime, people can request a free chair from Make Good. We have a growing list of people who've requested these, and once we finish the design, we'll start filling those requests with custom printed chairs, including things that you might need for your particular chair, Platt said in a follow-up video. Because the chairs are easily 3D printed, they can come in any color and can be modified to include other accommodations, like a section to hold a breathing device or another aid. With years of customization and design experience under his belt, this new innovation is simply an extension of Platt's dedication to inclusive design. In 2023, Platt told New Mobility, "I feel like every time I deliver one of these assistive devices, I get a hopeful feeling that the world has been changed a little bit for the better for the next generation." To Noam Platt and his organization Make Good, which is a great name for it, let me tell you, for making a free 3D printed wheelchair for children that is going to be available as soon as they have this prototype completed. Cheers. Producer Donna is reminding us that May 27th, I'm trying to remember his name. There's going to be a gentleman that's been going around the country, just pretty much helping out in every city. He's actually going to be in the city I live in. So, May 27th, I got to keep my eyes out for him. We're going to move on to our final article of the night. We called it, "Don't Let It Go to Waste." I will copy and paste this into the chat if y'all want to read along. Doug Ruck. Thank you, Donna. Thank you, producer Donna. Green Bay nonprofit rescues over 7,000 pounds of NFL draft food to help families in need. This was posted to Fox 11 News, and it was posted on April 30th of 2025 by Tony Langfellow. Yeah, I saw him. That's why I looked back. I saw him on the log again. The NFL draft drew 600,000 people to Titletown, but there's a lot of food left over from the 3-day event. Instead of letting it go to waste, a Green Bay nonprofit is stepping up to get that food to people in need. Rooted in Incorporated has collected 7,145 pounds of food and beverages so far since the draft wrapped up on Saturday of that week. This food would have ended up in the garbage or in the landfill, Rooted in founder and executive director Selena Darrow said. Darrow said it's Rooted In's mission to rescue food from being wasted, and they saw the draft as a key opportunity to help hundreds of struggling families facing food insecurity. To be able to feed people we know who so desperately need the food has just put smiles on everyone's faces, Darrow said. Rooted In has collected a majority of the food from catered draft events, along with vendors with unsold leftovers. They've collected meal staples like salads, meat, dairy, fresh produce, cheese, and much more. Through working with the draft, we've had access to those types of foods, and I think that's why it's important that those foods did not go to the landfill and ended up in the community, Darrow said. The thousands of pounds of food is being distributed to 13 area pantries and shelters, like the Salvation Army, Golden House, and the new community shelter, receiving food they never even dreamed of getting. From different sandwiches to salads to cheese curds, we've got pretty much a ton, new community shelter meal director Sarah Smith said. Smith said they've gotten so many draft leftovers, they're getting low on space. Yesterday I had my staff and they're like, Sarah, we don't have nowhere else to put it. So I was just like, bring it in, she said. However, all that fresh food is allowing their cooking staff to be more creative and cook healthier for guests. Smith said lately inflation has been hurting their supply. We haven't been getting a huge amount of donations in, and a lot of the donations have been expired food, so with seeing all the fresh food come in, it's something different, Smith said. That is really cool. To the nonprofit Rooted In Incorporated for collecting all of that food following the NFL draft and giving it out to different shelters and homes to provide food for people in need and people facing food insecurity. Cheers. So that's everything. Thank you all again for tuning in or catching the replay on the Nick's News YouTube page. We're usually live every Sunday. However, our next episode that's on May 18th is going to be a pre-recorded episode. I am going to be out of town. I will not be able to bring all of my equipment with me. There's absolutely no way I can haul the new computer. And I won't be able to bring some of the stuff that I absolutely would need to run Nick's News properly. So we are going to do a pre-recorded episode that's going to go live at 9 p.m. on Sunday, May 18th. And then we will have our next our next live episode that following Sunday on the 25th. I encourage participation, so if you feel inclined, by all means, you can post suggestions for news brews, shout-outs, news quotes, and especially good news articles that we can present on future episodes. If you do send in a bunch of articles, please try to spread them out across our 4 major categories, and those categories, again, are science and technology, health and medicine, flora and fauna, aka plants and animals, and wholesome notes, the really nice articles we like to end on. You can message us on Facebook or Instagram, or you can email us at somebudgetstudios@gmail.com. Links are in the descriptions of our videos. Feel free to like, subscribe, or comment on our content across YouTube and Facebook to get our good news and joy out into the algorithm. This Hope Course stuff, it has a place. It has a way to expand, and it is thanks to every single one of you. I can't thank you all enough for every like, subscribe, comment, basically every interaction on our content. It is helping Nick's News continue to grow and get that Hope Core out into the world to counter all that bad news we're bombarded with on a daily basis. So thank you all again. As always, thank you again. I love you all. Have a great night, and I will play us out.